Well, hello everybody. I am outside. It has been 5 days since I did my show, so I have decompressed, I have evaluated, I had to go back and sort of re-experience things by watching the recordings that people made, and it has been a very interesting journey of discovery. This whole process has been very exciting. Sadly, I dropped my selfie stick and this has broke off. I'm gonna have to see if I can fix it so that I can still use this properly. It is a shame. It is how this gets plugged in a lot of ways. I don't even know all the things that it does. But I dropped it twice on the way out here and I broke it. And it's a shame because it actually is designed to be loose so you can, I forget the word that it is, but I don't know, works like a gimbal. Is a gimbal the word I want to use? No, gimbal is different, but it allows the camera to sort of free move and the gravity to keep it upright. And anyway, I haven't figured out how to use it well anyway, but that's what's happened. Now I made a few notes so that I could try and not forget things. So my notes on my first drag performance, and I guess I'll just go through my notes the way that I was thinking of it when I wrote them down. It's just things that went, or that were prepared for, that didn't go according to plan, I think is really mostly what I noted. All the positive things are just there. So I really was only paying attention to the things that weren't on par with what I had hoped. So the first thing was I spent hours. I did not want to burst into a sweat. It was a warm day. So I spent hours slowly applying the makeup and getting it just right. I didn't record because I wanted to focus on what I was doing and not on the recording that was being made of what I was doing, if that makes any sense. So it just seemed to make the most sense to me to do it that way. And I was quite satisfied. I had practiced a lot. The blacklight makeup turned out right, because that was always the challenge, is getting it to look nice and still be the UV reactive makeup and have it show properly and not be broken up or muddied. And I got that working and it was really good. And that was a good way to start. Now there was another thing that I'd done, is like I'd added a couple of belts to the costume because they weren't staying closed properly and I thought that would help better. So I put them on and it certainly helped in the way that I wanted the belts, or what I wanted the belts to do. I wanted them to, keep something closed until I needed to open it. And they were perfectly effective for that. So when I was performing, I was all put together and I was announced, and I come out and I realized that my red shoes that I was wearing, my feet are slipping in and out of them when I step. So it was very hard to make sure they stayed under me and my feet didn't come right out of them. So that made some of the walking and performing that I was doing more challenging than it had been when I was trying things at home, practicing. The first double stack wig I was wearing for my opening number always stayed on at home, didn't shift around, didn't do anything, but I'd had it on, it was good, but then just before I went on, it had slipped a little. I had no chance. I tried to adjust it and it started to make it a little worse, and I just kind of left it going, okay, let's just leave it as it is. And then I'm there going through the audience, heading up towards the stage, and throughout the performance, people will even see me, I have to go up and touch it because it keeps sliding. Fortunately, it did not fall off my head, but it did make quite a distraction to the performance. My first performance wasn't nearly as strong as I'd intended it to be because of all these things that my brain was trying to focus on and still perform. So there are times when I'm going through the audience and I'll see out the corner of my eye going, oh, somebody's tipping over there. I need to kind of make my way over into that direction. And then my shoes would slip and I'd stumble in that direction and have to regain myself, trying not to let on that anything is going wrong. But that's just one of the things that I was contending with in the moment, in real time, that you have to figure out something. And my determination was, if I'm gonna fall or the shoes come off of it, it's gonna be in spectacular form. Now, I also struggled with, because I hadn't practiced with all the belts, the different belts that I'd added. I practiced the belts. I had not practiced the belts with the gloves on, with the nails and claws and whatnot. And that was a huge mistake on my part. I had to power through certain things which made them look a little awkward, but I got through them.
So I have a little flirt with a footman as he takes my fur. As you were.
I'll probably find a way to put an example up here or something from the video footage that was taken. So that was, yeah, I guess those were the main things for all of that. I struggled. I wasn't sure how to focus on people. I always felt when I was doing it that I'm lingering too long on the various people. And then when I watched the performance, I'm realizing that it almost looks like I'm going up, grabbing a tip, and immediately just taking off. And in my mind, I'm engaging and taking a really long time between, between people, like going from one person to the next. And everything time-wise changes when you're performing. Some things feel sped up and some things feel really slowed down, and I struggle sometimes to feel the genuine reality of what the audience is experiencing in what is a different timing thing for me. I did not even realize that was what was going on, because I don't normally get a chance to see my performance. I usually just have to go back and think through what it felt like. So this time I really got a chance to see what's on my face, see what I do, all of those things. And I was able to learn a lot more from this particular performance than all my years on the theater combined. That was very fascinating. And it is sort of a trial by fire, because whatever happens is what happens, and you just have to run with it, because it is live theater, but it's up close. And I'm used to having that, you're on a stage and like the audience is far removed from you. You have an orchestra pit between you and an aisle and all this stuff. And here you are right there with them, interacting, contacting. And I haven't had a lot of experience with those kind of roles. It does happen in theater. I've done a couple where it was very audience involvement. In fact, the audience would dictate the end of the play based on who they wanted to be the murderer. And it was like a murder mystery kind of play, but it had different endings, and each of us suspicious characters all had our own ending that made us guilty. So we had to memorize, I think it was 8 different endings for the characters. And it was a bit of a challenge, but we were interacting during intermission. We were going around and being questioned by the audience and things like that, and we had to interact back in character, all at the same time, of us being able to go to the bathroom if we need to, or touch up makeup if we need to, or adjust a costume, or any of the other things that we have to do when an intermission is usually going on stage. So different theatrical experiences do tend to have their own challenges, their own things to learn, the things to overcome, the things that make them magical. So that was my first performance, my first number. Now, I felt much more confident than by my second number. And again, it had its unexpected challenges. The first thing was I wanted to bring on this chair without any arms to act as my throne. And that chair was incredibly heavy. I don't know how much it weighed, but to me it felt like it had to weigh at least 30 pounds, because Scooby is almost 30 pounds, and it felt way heavier and much more awkward than trying to carry Scooby. So again, I don't know. I'm just guessing the weight of this chair. Oh, sanitation truck going by. So when I had the chair sitting outside the door for me to make my entrance, I scooped it up. I already had to have the stuffed dog under the skirt between my legs, being held in there. I had the goblet in my hand, in the hand, the chair in the other. And I have to open a door and go out and then climb a step onto the stage in about 3 beats, maybe 4 beats, because then the song starts. And I just got there in time, got around, everything was fine. That actually worked. But my goodness, the shock of that heavy chair just before I went on stage, going, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to get this in place? Am I going to throw my back out before I even start performing? But, you know, do what you got to do. I was introduced, out I go, plunked myself on the chair, boom, here we are, and went about with the performance. The goblet gag.
Sipping on meat and I spill it on my dress with a gold lace trim. Not very prim and proper. Can't make me stop.
I think they got it. I was able to ditch the cup in a effective way, and then I stand up, still trying to keep the hidden, made-up stuffed dog popcorn a secret.
I wanna go hunting any takers. I'm not fake 'cause I got acres and acres.
Till I get to the part where my hound's at, release the bitches. Woof. And on that woof, the dog is supposed to drop from between my legs, because I am releasing the bitches. And of course, it's all made up in drag, because otherwise popcorn is a guy, stuffed animal, dog, even though that really doesn't matter, talking about pointlessly gendered. That's just how it was viewed in my head when we got him in Hamilton. So it was fine. I realized that most people in the audience wouldn't have even been able to see what happened, that something happened.
My hounds had released the bitches.
That it was a dog, so I made sure that I picked it up.
Under croquet, 'cause I'm a...
And I used it.
I didn't look like my profile picture.
And I made it part of the show in a slightly bigger way than I had initially planned. And that just happened organically during the performance, and I like how that worked. So I'm happy about that. Now, sadly, immediately the clothing that I had made for the dog and the wig, that, like it all started to come apart and fall off and all that. I didn't really notice during the performance until at the end, and I held it up over my head and I realized, oh my God, strings are hanging from it and all these things. And I went, it is what it is. I don't really care. It served its purpose. But I have to go in and fix all of these things that are broken now. The other thing is the gloves that I had that had the jeweled claws that I had made on them. Before I even got on stage, one of those claws had broken off, and I thought, okay, well, I got to go through it with one obviously missing claw. Well, I get up there, and of course, when you're trying to take belts off that you hadn't practiced with these claws on, 2 more claws came up. You know, they started flopping around. I just grabbed them and I threw them like that was part of the act and got rid of them. And you just move on, and all of that was kind of fun. Normally that would have thrown me. It would be like, oh my gosh, things are going wrong. This is a disaster. And then that would be what plays in my head. I was having too much fun. I was having the best time of my life. And a lot of that was the wonderful, wonderful audience that came out to support us all. They were there for this. They weren't there just to go see a drag show. They were there for us. And it showed. They had a good time, and I had the best time, and I can't speak for everybody else. But it was such a wonderful experience that went so well. Now, okay, I've talked about popcorn, okay. The hair fascinator, I had made that because a lot of my drag, I've determined I like to repurpose, reuse, and I like to take things that people have given me over the years and use them. I borrowed the red belt from Kelly because the red corset that I had I thought was too big when the skirt came down, so I put the belt on so the skirt could come down and it would look wonderfully balanced. Forgot to take the skirt down, so I missed an entire reveal into something a lot more sassy, but that's okay, like nobody would notice that, I just did. The point came and went when I'm watching the video going, that's where it was supposed to happen, and I didn't do it. didn't even think of it. Like, it wasn't even in my head at the time. It wasn't until it was all over and I went, didn't do my last reveal. But that's okay, still didn't matter. But the hair fascinator that I got from Lynn Marie, she had given me this fascinator a long time ago, and it had some components that were missing and some components that were there. And I took the feathers that were already there and I put them on the mask that I used. And that was an interesting thing of that. And I thought, well, how am I going to use this fascinator? So I took roses that Denis had got for me and I used them in the fascinator. I took and bejeweled it all. And as I'm putting it in the hair to go on stage, because it took me it was 3 or 4 days of working on this thing, and the comb part broke right off and I couldn't keep it in my hair. I had one bobby pin that I had access to because we're talking seconds. I couldn't go through all of my stuff. I couldn't try and find it in my other wig to remove them and take more bobby pins out. This is a bob pin that fell out of the wig after the performance, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just use this. It wouldn't hold anything. Like, it looked like it was going to, but then it just flopped around. I thought, oh, this is going to be worse. So I took it right out and made the decision of not to wear it, which is very disappointing because to me, those are all like little Easter eggs that people that know me or have given me these things, it's like, can they see that they were used that way? Like, do they recognize them? And if not, when I tell them later, they get to feel really honored, and it makes me feel really good. But it's a way for me to repurpose and reuse and have a reason to keep so much of what other people call junk that I do, because I will find and create new uses for it, just if for no other reason, just to use it. Oh, there was something I was going to say about, oh yes, because in my first performance, the biggest disappointment that I had was I forgot, after all those hours of carefully making sure the blacklight makeup looked the way I needed it to look. I was gonna say flawless. Nothing about me is flawless. I start with flaws. I cannot remove them. They are what they are. I work with them. I cannot fight them. They will always win. But I forgot to bring my UV light. I had the mirror, I had adorned the mirror so that I could use the light shining into the mirror to reflect back onto my face and not just be shining this intense light right in my face. And it also allowed me to not have my face covered and try to do the reveal. And I had tested all these things and it all worked. And then I forgot my black light. Everything about that was pointless. There was no point in me taking the mirror out because that was the reason for the mirror. In which case then I could have used it. I would have reflected the audience a time or two because of the line in the song of a reflection of all. But aside from that, which would be a secondary use for me to use it because of the main use. And it was a huge disappointment realizing that the biggest gag of the first number wasn't going to be there. It just wasn't going to be there. So coming down, I'm going to call it an aisle, coming down the aisle, the walkway, the path, going up to the stage through the tables, I'm interacting with people to the best of my ability, and the mask is on there with the magnet, so everything is cool. Then I get to the front, I figure I'm taking this off right away because there's no point. It's not adding any more excitement. And then I kind of held it so people could see it because I put work into it. And then I flung it and it was just gone. No point for the rest of the show. And I just went on and did the rest of the number with the stumbling and everything else that I've already talked about. So that was the issue with that first number. And the second number I've already kind of started explaining, you know, the heaviness of the chair, the clothes and wig coming off the stuffed animal. But other than that, I'd say it went exactly as according to plan. Yeah, it really did. Like, I can't complain about how that number went. But I was in automatic for these things for a lot of it. I don't remember doing the performance. I remember elements of the performance, mostly the first one, because I remember the things that were going wrong, like worrying that I was going to fall right out of my shoes and such. But that never really happened. I got through it, and because I got through that, I was able to enter the second one with a lot more confidence, and I think that was really key to doing this. And All of that was fine, despite the things that went wrong, the nails that I had to fling and all of that stuff. It didn't matter. The coat or the fur that was supposed to come down, I struggled.
So I have a little flirt with a footman as he takes my fur.
Again, because I hadn't practiced with the nails. And the main thing was, because the magnets that I had to keep it closed at the top, I was holding that up. So I didn't even have a hand to undo the belt. So I had to let go of this, undo the belt, and try and get it all off me. And it was sloppy. It wasn't flawless at all. And I have so many rehearsals at home that all were 100% flawless that I'm like going, why? Why on the actual performance does it have to go this way? But it didn't matter. And that was the neat thing to learn, is ultimately it didn't matter how many things went wrong, what went wrong, none of that mattered. You move on with the stuff that's going right. You focus on the stuff that's going right. You focus on the next thing you need to do. You do not even remotely think about the thing that just went wrong. It's gone, it's over, it's past. And I'm hoping I can take that into my day-to-day life, where I can, when things go wrong that are inevitable, we don't have a choice about or whatever, that we just accept it, move on, process it later so we can learn what we need to learn from it, but not have such things hinder us while we are doing things that are important in our day-to-day lives. I don't know if that makes sense, but in my head that does. In my head, that's a lesson to be learned by me there. Now, is there anything else? Yeah, that goes. So I'll have to reinforce the magnetic clasps on that, which could end up making it harder to remove, but I'd rather that than have it open too early and I have to hold it closed instead of performing. So that's just what I learned there. Now, when I left, I thought I had everything, because when you go, everything's sort of packed up, and even then I forgot things, but I had stuff really organized. Coming back, it's all out and disheveled, and I forgot like a big box of stuff. I forgot the fur thing, I forgot the corset bustier thing, I forgot the stuffed dog with all the accoutrements. So many things in that lost and found box, because I went to the bar where they kept things in the lost and found box in the office. So they brought the box out going, is this stuff yours? And I kind of looked through and went, yep, this is all mine. Going, okay, I'll just take the box. Get home, don't even unpack the box for the first day. I looked into it a couple of days after, so I guess Saturday. Saturday, I went and looked. So 2 days ago, I started taking some things out of this box, and I realized there are things in this box that are not mine. There are electrical things. There's like I think it's a microphone cable. I don't know enough about those to know if that's true. It could be a lighting cable for all I know, but I think it's a microphone cable. There is a big industrial sort of power box with an extension cord to plug things into. That's not mine as well. So if it's not from Andrew at running the show, like running the sound and tech and things at the show, then they belong to somebody else, and I will take them back to the bar so that they can try and get them to the people that actually do own them. If they're Andrew's, I will just try and get them to Andrew, because I think that would be the easiest. Now, is that all? But yeah, the gags that I had that made it in there, they were all well received. They, whether they worked perfectly or not didn't matter, because they did what they needed to do. And yeah, that's all the notes I have on there. And I'm sure there are plenty of things about this experience I have forgotten. So we are at that time where, until the next time, take care of yourselves and each other.